back to the Villa Podcast Opposition Preview, joined by Ryan from Talking Seagulls. How you doing, mate?
Yes, mate, I'm all right. I mean, if you exclude pretty much every result that we've had of the last couple of months, I'm absolutely fine. Thank you.
I mean, it feels like I'm catching you at sort of like a bad time, basically. If I look at your season, I guess at the start, Europe, playing in Europa League, first season Brighton in Europe, absolutely fantastic. And now I'm getting you when it feels like it's just petering out. I imagine you just want to just get to the end of the season and then focus on the summer. So how's the season been as a whole from a fan's point of view?
I think it's been a good season from a fan's point of view because we've been to Europe first time ever. Sim Brighton in at Ajax in Athens, Marseille. We've had some great trips, obviously excluding the result at Roma. It's a magic season, isn't it, in that respect? But I think everyone's still got that half gripe of the summer that went before the season. Losing our two best players, and then we're going into what was our biggest season ever, weaker. And I think that's what's been on the fans' minds probably. We're looking at January, and it's pretty, as you know, really hard to get anything in January. So I think that there's a bit of a mixed emotion, but I think if you look at it as a whole, the amount of injuries we've had, the amount of had to go through more games, as you've probably felt as well. I'd say it's been a good season. It's been a very, very difficult one. As you say, now we're in that situation where it's a bit dead. We're not going to get Europe again. Let's just not embarrass ourselves and go too far down the league. But let's just end the season and hopefully for a big summer.
Yeah, and your first season in Europe. So, you must have been immensely proud watching your team in Europe. So, how did you find it?
Yeah, I thought, do you know what? I don't know about you, but I remember the first game, Athens at home, was a complete shock as to how good they are. We're not just playing, you look at Athens and you think, from an ignorant English football fan's point of view, we should beat them. We should beat them without really understanding anything about them. And they gave us a really tough game and beat us. And it was a big shock, I think, for everyone. Is thinking it's tough, this Europa League. You might be good in the Premier League. I think you felt it was at the first game you had. I think you lost as well. And it was a bit of a shock to the system sort of thing. But I think we made a good account of ourselves on the most part. We came in the group of death. We came top of that league, which is always a nice thing. But of course, we just had to get Roma, didn't we? The ex-champions, or whatever it is, so many times. So, yeah, to get there in the next round was a bit of a great, we get to go to Rome, but probably going to get better than we did. But it was all right. It was good fun.
Yeah, I mean, you touch on you lost your first one and we lost our first one. And you're thinking, oh, my God, what's going on here? How difficult is this going to be? So, yeah, Europe is tough. It's very, very tough. But I kind of like it because it's a bit of a distraction from the league. I think the Premier League, we get so invested in it and it's so you can play anybody and lose basically. But when you're in Europe, it's just nice to sort of think, okay, park the Premier League. Let's just, have some fun in Europe basically. So, you've touched on the season. You've dropped off a little bit. Why do you think you have dropped off a little bit? And have you found anything out about De Zerbi that you sort of didn't already know? Because obviously last season it was absolutely fantastic. This season, not so much. And he's a manager that seems to get linked with a lot of jobs. He was linking with Bayern. He's been linked with Barca. He's semi-linked with Liverpool. So what's your vibe around De Zerbi and this season and going into next season as well?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of $1 million question, isn't it? I think everyone's sort of spoke about De Zerbi and a leaving tent, haven't they? But at the same time, as you say, we've learned a lot from him and about him. I think he's taught the club to push higher straight away. Not to just go in and sell your best players. I think that's where the biggest sort of point of conflict came from, wasn't it? Where it was, I've built so well last season. Why are you selling our best players going into a tougher season? So yeah, but at the same time, there's been parts where we've been very exposed. I don't know if you saw the Bournemouth game. With that being said, we had a lot of youth players playing in that game. There's, I think, 4 under 23s fielded for that game. So a lot of naivety on that football pitch, but naivety as well from probably Roberto for the last couple of months. But I've sat in his press conferences for the last 2 seasons. So my vibe genuinely is probably a little bit different in the terms of I understand when he tries to say something and it comes across wrong, which is what I've tried to get across to the Brighton fans is, yeah, okay, he might be saying, I need to be happy at Brighton. Then Brighton fans can read that as saying, are you saying you're not happy then? But it is just a mistranslation from Italian to very, very, very broken English. And I think that sometimes people forget that. With that being said, though, when you look at Aston Villa, I'd love to have someone like Unai Emery, who is just there for the long run and openly is happy to be there for the long run. That's what I think football fans love, isn't it? They want someone that's committed and shows and proves they're committed. This is the first time we've had someone that's a bit like, let's get to the end of the season and see. Let's get to the end of the season and see. You saw Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds. It's a bit of that sort of situation, which maybe some people don't like so much.
Yeah, I think, the thing that I think a lot of Villa fans, like you've just said about Emery, is that we like that there's the project that we're working towards, but we like that the manager's like fully invested in it and happy. So I think that, that is massive. And, I really rate De Zerbi and the way he's got you playing in that sort of like reverse 4-4-2, two little boxes and etc. And I've done episodes on you, especially on our previews when we play, of like showing how brilliant that actually is. So with your team now and your injuries and the way he's playing a lot of youngsters, has this style of play altered in the last couple of weeks? So can Villa expect something a little bit different to what we've seen from you before?
Yeah, a lot. I was at Villa for the 6-1. Stayed to the end. I think someone near me said, someone near me said, who, when Jacob Ramsey come on, and I just thought, why did you say that? Because you just knew that he was going to score. And I think about 3 minutes later, he scores the 6th. I just thought, well done, nice one, that's good. But yeah, it was just one of those awful days, wasn't it? And we to say we've changed since then, I'm not so sure. I mean, we went into that game with I think it was Hinchwood and Gilmore in midfield, and I think it was Hinchwood's one of his first games, and looked massively out of his depth. Since then, obviously, he's done very well. Then he got injured, which seems to be a common theme. And then he's out for the season, so you won't be seeing him. And since then, that's pretty much been the theme of that team. Mitoma will be out for the season. Hinchwood's obviously out for the season. We've got Van Hecker's going to be out as well. So majority of our team, Solly Much, will be out for the season. So you're going to see a very rotated team. It's going to be pretty much 23s on the most part. I think apart from Gross, Dunk, Igor has not really played too much for us, so there's a bit of a worry there. So stylistically, we haven't really got anything left. So this is what I'm trying to say to you. When I say we're quite disjointed, you only have to watch the Bournemouth highlights to see that. We are playing with bare bones now, and it is we've played the fire. Omani, you won't even know who these people are. Valentin Barco we signed, but he's very young, very naive. So it's very raw. A fire got recalled from Hearts because he didn't impress, and he's now our starting right back because our right backs are injured. So yeah, we'll see. I actually quite like a fire, with that said, by the way, but we'll see. We'll see. It'll be a very different stylistic game to the Brighton you're thinking, that's for sure.
Yeah. So who's player of the season for you guys then? Who has been your standout player? Who's left to play?
Well, I was going to say JP Van Hecker. I thought he's been so good for us, and actually, he was one I really wrote off. I didn't write off, that's wrong, but I didn't see it maybe when we were saying he's going to be a starting centre back. Losing Levi Colwill was massive boots to fill. I think he's done really well. He's probably been our best defender. In fact, I'd say he's definitely been our best defender, and he's probably the first time in absolutely years where Lewis Dunk hasn't been our best defender. And he's done very well. He's slotted in there. He's very good with his feet. Very, very good progressively, but also absolute engine when it comes to man marking people. The only thing that he maybe does, he does step up a little bit too early, which maybe lets people in behind a bit quickly. But again, he's 23, so we can't expect too much to be a polished centre back. But he's been very, very good. he's been my player of the season, but he's going to be out. So that's a bit of a surprise one, by the way. We didn't think he would be out. But I think he's just been burnt out because he's had no one to play with. But he's been player of the season for me, definitely. Very, very good player. If you watch him, you'll like him, sort of thing.
Yeah, I've watched him. He's the blonde lad.
Yeah, that's the one. Lanky guy.
Yeah. He's good. To be fair, he impresses when I see him play. So, what have you made of Villa this season? Then, do you think Villa can get top 4?
Yeah. You'll be all right now. I've watched Villa a lot because you're quite good on the eye, and I think I've got a little bit of jealousy, in terms of not because of how well you're doing, but because I feel like we could have been there with you if we kept hold of them players, if we didn't maybe be so naive in the last summer. That's my frustration. I feel like we could have been competing, whereas now it's just landslides apart as to how good you are versus how good we are. You always do us, so I've got no confidence in that sense. But the Villa is, as a general, they are very good to watch. You're very direct, which I like. It's the sort of football you want to see, isn't it? When you watch Aston Villa, and I said this yesterday, and you're probably going to think I'm just sort of saying rubbish here, but I said that when we play Villa, I put it on the same level as Man City because I just think we're not going to win. You play the way that we don't like. You're very aggressive. Midfield dominates us because we haven't got the Caicedo McAllister partnership, for example, to deal with you. And it just overruns us. So you play exactly how we don't like. And I think that's why you get so much joy. You had the obviously talisman, Jack Grealish, for years against us. I think he got record goals against us at one point. Danny Ings as well. I think, did he used to play? I'm sure he did. Always used to score. We've had some rough times against you guys. So yeah, I don't think that's going to change. But I think you'll definitely be Champions League this season, and I don't think you're going to drop off either.
Love it. I think we might as well end the show on that note then. So So cheers for coming on, mate.
For people. So
yeah, well, to be fair,
I'm genuinely serious. I really, really like you guys.
To be fair, most Villa fans are going to be very apprehensive about what you're saying because we had a Chelsea fan on last week who was pretty much saying that Chelsea are crap. Chelsea are going to get battered against Villa, and they turned up to Villa Park and they were brilliant. So we're all going into this very, very cautious because of what happened against Chelsea. But I'll tag your channel in the title and description, mate. And it's been great having you on.
Yeah, top. Thank you, Luke. That's been good. Although I must admit, I'm not so excited for the game. But hey, nearly the end of the season. We can all enjoy the Euros together, can't we? Soon.
Definitely. Cheers, mate.